Hey, hi everyone. Good afternoon. It is a nice 50 degrees here in Kansas City. I do feel bad for everyone on the East Coast that's dealing with all that snow. Don't worry, we got some of it a few weeks ago. But luckily things are getting nice and spring-like over here. I don't know about you guys, but the time change on Sunday, not that bad. Again, it was Sunday, didn't have to do anything. Monday hit me really hard. I don't know about you guys, but there was no way I was getting up on time. That was for sure. I was honestly probably lucky to get up at like 8, which, is saying something. So I kind of feel like this is really timely talking about sleep and how that affects everything else, just because not usually a huge problem for me to get to sleep. Waking up is its own story. I've battled with that off and on for a long time. But I kind of want to talk about why it's important. First of all, I think like a lot of us understand maybe logically that we spend a third of our lives sleeping, so of course it's important. But especially when I start talking about self-care, so many people are like, oh, that means making sure I get massages, or I go to the chiropractor, or I go to the acupuncturist, or I get my nails done, or whatever that case may be. Like, that is like high level self-care, which is still good. You should still be doing it. But the foundation, what's right here, that needs to be your basic stuff. Like, if you're not getting enough sleep, the stuff up here isn't happening. So I've just, because you can't make good decisions, about what you eat, for example. I don't talk a lot about nutrition on my channel and in my business, just because there's so many other people talking about nutrition that are, honest, to be frank, smarter than I am about it as far as that goes. But like, when I talk basic, I mean, if anyone's familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like your basic necessities, eating right, sleeping, drinking enough water. I mean, again, the basic, the foundation. And to be frank, I'm no judgment here. Eating right, super hard, right? There's a lot of temptations everywhere. And even with like exercising right and doing these other self-care, like meditating and journaling for things to that effect, all these other self-care activities that I try to do in my own life, and I highly recommend to other people and clients, that requires an amount of like cognitive ability and willpower there that you just aren't going to have when you're not sleeping right. How many people, you wake up late, so you rush to get to work, so you run through a drive-through and get a coffee, which is basically a milkshake, like the frappuccinos that I love. Let's be honest, there are a lot of calories, there are a lot of sugar, and you just like, oh, I just need something because I'm late, and because you are reacting to your day at that point because you're feeling sleep deprived, and now you feel rushed, and all these different factors. You set yourself up to fail, and nobody wants to do that. Like, we all think it's impossible. It's not impossible, but we shoot ourselves in the foot before we even start. That's what most setbacks end up happening. I don't necessarily like to call them failures, but because we all do it. We all are almost preparing to set ourselves back over and over and over again. It becomes a cycle. We all, like I said, we all cycle through. I'm going to do this. We're, like I said, we're now well into March. How many people have said, I'm going to do this in January and I'm going to keep it up. And like March, maybe you're not doing it anymore. And that's okay. Forgive yourself for that. But you also have to know, and this is why I've been creating this resource bundle, this well-being clarity toolkit, which I will link. I've been crafting that because I want people to start setting themselves up for success. You are going to have a good plan in place. You are going to know what it's going to look like once you've completed what you've wanted to complete. You are going to have some of those accountability frameworks in place. But the basic stuff still has to be met. I can't tell you how many times for myself I've stayed up late doing God knows what, and staying up late means I'm going to sleep in the morning, and then I don't have to meditate today, or I didn't really have to do yoga today. That can wait till tomorrow. That can wait till I get home from work, and surprise, you're exhausted after work, so that doesn't end up happening. I do it. I've actually fallen off the wagon for a lot of different habits. I'm slowly building those back into my life. But I realized in myself 2 things that were stopping myself from getting the right amount of sleep that I needed. I didn't have an evening ritual in place to signal to myself, it is time to wind down, it is time to sleep. So I worked or YouTubed or whatever the case may be, well past when I should have gone to bed. Because I didn't have, hey, you have this thing you need to do. Not that you need to do, but that you want to do. Like, I like reading. Reading is like a wind down ritual for me. Especially reading fiction, not necessarily reading anything related to work. Writing in my journal, even, good evening ritual. Some people for that's meditation. Whatever the case may be for you, you have to tell yourself it is time to shut it down. Preferably something that, a ritual that doesn't involve your phone or a computer, just because of that light and that stimulation is like going to have a lot of the opposite effect. So that was the first thing, was having that evening ritual. Second thing was telling myself how much sleep I really need. Because I think, especially people who are chronically sleep deprived, like so many of us, again, no judgment, this includes me. I think we have a completely broken idea of how much sleep we need. And part of that is culturally, how many people are answering work emails at midnight, or still working like well into like 2 a.m. on a project. It's part of our culture to be like, oh, we don't need sleep, whatever, yeah, I can do that. That's what coffee is for, or whatever the case may be. So part of it's culturally that we don't need sleep, when I can show, I don't even have time to show you the dozens and dozens and dozens of research studies that link it to early dementia, strokes, getting colds and the flu. I mean, so many sleep affects so many things that we're only now really starting to piece out. If you want to know more, Sleep Smarter by Sean Stevenson, The Sleep Revolution, Ariana Huffington, 2 of my favorite sleep books right now. Like I said, that's its own kettle of worms. But again, that thought that we don't really need it, or this warped idea of, oh, I'm fine on 6 hours. Are you really fine on 6 hours? Because most people are not. In fact, there's some people out there who probably need like 9 hours, maybe even maybe 10. Obviously that's not as common, but have told themselves they only need 6 or 7 for so long that, your sleep debt, you can't even make that up anymore because of how much. I know this is something that will be difficult for a lot of us, but I was just like that. I had told myself, I am perfectly fine. I am functional. I am great at 7 hours. That's all I need is 7, because some people can do quite well on 7. I do need 8, as I'm realizing. And part of that is I have an alarm, but when I don't, like if I don't set my alarm, that is when I wake up is almost to the letter 8 hours. And then when I stay in bed past that, it sucks. It's really hard. You're groggy and you're feeling like crap all day because you slept for too long. But that 7 hours that I was doing for years was not doing me any favors, as I'm now realizing, because your body knows what it needs. So when you're like, oh man, I tried to do the X and I fell asleep, your body needed that. By the way, don't feel bad when you fall asleep reading or you fall asleep watching TV, if you're falling asleep, you are making up sleep debt, which all of us, me included, we have. We are not sleeping enough and our bodies are like, okay, fine, lights off, because I'm getting it one way or the other. So don't beat yourself up for that, but also be in tune with your body. How much sleep does your body need? And don't try to tell it what it needs. I need 7, I need 6, or I can do fine with 4. I've heard that before. Oh my gosh, 4 hours sleep. You may, but are you is your brain telling yourself that? Or is your body like desperately being like, no, like I need 8. You need to give me 8. You need to be in tune with that. And a big piece is, try to not to do it on a day you have to like go into work super early or anything, but really look at, like if you're going on vacation, when does your body want to wake up on its own? If you didn't have an alarm to wake you up, what would wake you up? So those are 2 things to look at. Evening ritual, how are you going to wind your body down? And then B, pay attention to how much sleep your body truly needs. And start looking at that. Start making note of it in the mornings, because a lot of times, it was so hard for me to wake up. It really shouldn't be hard to wake up. And I think part of that difficulty for us is that mistaken belief that we only need such and such amount of sleep. So if you're having a problem with that, I would definitely keep that in the back of my mind. Well, maybe it's hard because I need to give myself that extra hour. And you don't necessarily have to do that all at once, but I try to do 15 minutes earlier, going to bed, obviously not waking up necessarily earlier, but going to bed 15 minutes at a time. And if you're having problems falling asleep, the evening ritual is really going to help with that, because your brain keeps going, it keeps turning, because that's the way our culture and our bodies are so used to doing. Got to do X, Y, Z, and tomorrow got to do all these things too. Your brain wants to keep going. It wants to keep going. The evening ritual is there to wind it down and be like, hey, that's all stuff that can wait till tomorrow. Right now we're reading. Right now we're doing this. Chill the fuck out. And that ritual is meant to tell your body that. So I find that the people that have a problem falling asleep will hopefully get some benefit from that, and the people who have a problem waking up, really look at the sleep that you need and start planning for it accordingly. Like I said, it's not setting your alarm is a bit dicey proposition, right? So maybe set it as late as possible and you still be able to, get up. But see if you wake up before then. That would be great. Like I said, you're going to find what works for you. Because sleep is so individualized, it's a lot of experimentation. So feel free to, reach out and tell me what's working for you, what's not working for you. Because some things I may say may totally not, oh, that didn't work for me at all. And that's fine. I'm not saying that what I'm talking about is going to 100% work for everyone all the time. But, if you have any other feedback or questions in regards to this, I'd love to hear it. Email me, send me a message on Facebook. And you guys have a great afternoon.